Good evening and welcome to Horror. I'm Lee.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Adam.
You sound like a hobbit.
I thought he was going for Gremlin. Yeah.
So as you may have guessed, if you've not already been listening to the series, we are covering Gremlins this evening, as this is going to be going out on the 22nd of December, if all things go well. Ahead of Christmas.
Merry Christmas, if that is the case, to everybody out there. I've got my Christmas jumper on.
I was going to say it's Christmas.
No,
I love that very much.
Yeah, it's the only Christmas jumper I've ever bought, and possibly the only one I need to. So.
I agree.
Yeah. I went for a red top. That was the best I could do.
You do look like it started off as Santa, but it's definitely Satan.
Yeah. This is my blood hoodie. That's what I'm calling it now.
Ah, okay, blood.
I'm not a crip.
I keep getting...
For the benefits of the listener, for the benefits of the tape, and those who aren't actually watching us on YouTube, although you should be watching us on YouTube, Lee is currently in the original Welcome to Horror Studio, and Chris has actually been downloaded into the internet apparently, and it's just there amongst the machine elves and kilobytes, etc. I don't understand computers really.
Kilobyte sounds good though, doesn't it?
It does.
Just very quickly, before we get stuck into the evening, this evening's main topic. Yes, before we get to that, I know obviously we're trying to get ahead on episodes at the moment, so we only recorded a week ago. But have you watched anything, Chris?
Yes.
In between last time and now?
You'll be excited to hear what I've been up to. So I watched the Gremlins 2 brainstorming in honour of tonight's film, and because
the
Adam
Jordan
said
Peele,
you have to watch
Key
this.
and Peele.
Yes,
yeah.
Key and Peele, and it is awesome. It is very funny,
It
was great to be reminded of all the things that were in Gremlins 2 that I absolutely loved when I watched it as probably 12-year-old was it, something like that, and and it sounds very tacky, but I think I've got to watch it again.
Oh, that is the one thing that has come out of watching Gremlins is I'm watching Gremlins 2. That's going to happen.
This conversation off there, basically saying, yeah, should we do it for the next episode? Because let's face it, we're all going to be watching it because that's such a fun experience.
Yeah,
it's true. I mean, we could, and sort of, drop that episode in as a bonus or something like that. I don't know.
Ooh.
I'd be up for a bonus episode.
Well, I think
we're not promising anything. We'll see how it goes because we've made this mistake before where we've said
never promise.
I've made this mistake before because I go, we're going to do a side project and we're going to do this thing and then we're going to try this nuclear stuff and then life gets in the way and I don't get to do it. So we might surprise you with a little cheeky bonus episode of Gremlins 2. But we might not.
I mean, usually we should be okay as long as I'm not wearing a related T-shirt as a number of aborted attempts we had to watch American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf, yes.
That was...
Yes.
I think that was that third time lucky? And that was only because I did not wear my Slaughtered Lamb pub T-shirt.
You've now learned your mistake.
It was
cool, yeah.
Yeah, it was getting to the point where it was starting to feel like something was trying to intervene and stop that from ever happening. Really.
And the other thing I did briefly was I came across a 30-day trial of Shudder. So I thought, let's have a look at that. Now I know you've mentioned it. I think you might have said you're not watching it anymore, but I thought let's just do it. Why not?
Have you watched anything on it yet?
No, you need to tell me what to watch on there. I did flick through as you do on Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of them, flip through looking at everything that's on there, and they all look very interesting. I did see a Christmas one, I've forgotten what it's called, but I thought, oh yeah, that's suitable.
I think my issue with Shudder is, unlike Netflix, unless you're signed in, you can't just go and see what's available to watch on Shudder. So you can't look at it and go, oh yeah, there's loads of stuff I want to see. I'm going to have a subscription. So I can't tell you what to suggest because I don't currently have a subscription.
That is
strange.
If you do it on, because I think there's a weird thing with if you check Amazon, like Amazon Video, because they will tell you, oh, you're available with Prime, etc., etc.
Yeah.
They will list films that are available, but they just like available via the Shudder app.
Mm.
So
some link.
So there is a kind of way of checking out what's on there.
I will go through it, try and find something, watch it, and report back.
Well, I know Dean. Hello, Dean, friend of the show, and relative. I think he basically just watched the whole of Shudder.
Everything.
Yeah, I think it was just a period of time where it was like, I've got nothing better to do. So
he should be able to send us a comment telling me what to watch.
Definitely, there's a few things that I've wanted to see that are on there, and they do seem to have, a fair bit, mainly sort of newer stuff and odder stuff as well. That seems to be.
Yeah, they do have some really hard to find stuff on there, which was I was particularly excited.
I was going to say, talking to Dean, I think I've still got his Mother DVD, so I need to bring that back next time I come. So, and also, I think based on
it's Lee's mother.
I like his recommendations.
So, it's Lee's mother as well. If it's Dean's mother's DVD,
I'll be seeing Dr. Dean tomorrow, so I will get him to ping you over some recommendations for stuff you're missing.
He is very good.
Adam, have you been watching anything? You lazy bitch.
I've watched some more of Shadows, the kids anthology one, and there was a really good one where the caretaker from Grange Hill and Foggy from Last of the Summer, Barraclough from Porridge, basically, it's called The Man Who Hated Kids. And it's all about him trying to get some kids blamed for vandalism. And then
the
spirit of Peter Pan turns him into a tree. And it's actually weirdly creepy because,
that sounds pretty horrific.
It's just, especially because it is a kid's show, but they sort of have these odd moments. And there's a bit, he basically looks down at his feet and roots spread out of his trouser legs, and then he's got moss all up his face, and then he ends up in the tree with just his face sort of pinioned in it and everything. That was really good. And they did a really good episode called The Boy Merlin, which was meant to be just a tale from Merlin's youth. That was good. And there was another one with Clive Swift in it, and Hyacinth's husband from Keeping Up Appearances as this failed children's entertainer who gets 3 magic eggs but doesn't realise that it's and that sort of went all weird and everything else like that. And it was especially good because that felt a bit like an episode of Inside Number 9 because of how just repellent the children were, who were sort of like oh, he's boring, I don't like it and everything. And that was so but that's the main sort of vaguely horror thing that I have been viewing. I have, however, received today in the post, I'll put that there so people might see it on YouTube, and then I'm going to close up for you.
The M.R. story.
Yeah, M.R. James story, adapted by Matthew Holness, and starring John Sessions, Amanda Abington, and Reece Shearsmith. It's the same. This is from Bafflegab. It's just been released. Bafflegab are a really good audio like a company who do like audio stuff. It's available on Bandcamp, and they did adaptations of Blood on Satan's Claw with Reece Shearsmith and Mark Gatiss in it, and a really good adaptation of The Hellbound Heart, like the novel that the novella that Hellraiser's based on. Yeah, and that had Alice Lowe in it. But yeah, they're really they're really good productions, and so it was like when I saw they'd done The Ashtray, and especially like Matt Holness was involved and Reece Shearsmith was on there, so I just had to pick up a copy.
Can't go wrong. That's amazing.
So I will be having a listen to that as well as tradition. It's a ghost story for Christmas from M.R. James. So yes.
And on that, before I go into what I've been watching / experiencing,
yes.
I went to a horror thing. There is going to be a ghost story for Christmas this year. Another Mark Gatiss, M.R. James adaptation.
Yes, with Peter Capaldi, isn't it?
Yes. I'm so excited for that because the last one wasn't as good as his previous ones, but the fact that he's going back to the M.R. James stories, it could be the highlight of Christmas.
Yeah, the last one was an original, and unfortunately, I think we said at the time we were both like, well, it's all right. I think Claire actually summed it up best. Is she said, "Oh yeah, because that felt like it was going to get really scary, and then didn't."
Yeah,
and it's like, well, I think you failed in your task there. If that's the review, Also, we should point out, I think New Year's Day, the new Dracula is on. The one
yes.
Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss' adaptation of Dracula that hopefully won't disappear up its own arse and go shit like Sherlock did. So
yeah, no, I've got very high hopes for that.
I think that'll be good.
Yeah. I didn't realise it was coming out quite that soon, so that's fantastic.
The BBC have just done a load of surprise announcements. Suddenly, out of the blue, they said, "Oh yeah, Doctor Who," because there was no Doctor Who series this year. And they said, "Oh yeah, no, it'll be back next year." And then it was announced, "Oh yeah, we're doing a New Year's special." And they announced, I think it was like Thursday. And then suddenly, it was coming out that the Dracula was going to be on New Year's Day as well. So, I mean, what this probably means is that the BBC is going to blow its wad on New Year's Day and then do fuck all for the rest of the year of any worth. So,
very probably. On that note, that does lead rather tidily into what I've been watching. Mm-hmm. So I've just finished BBC adaptation of War of the World.
Oh yes, yeah.
The 3-part, the 3-part mini series that they've just done. It was great for 2 episodes.
Okay.
I didn't hate the end, but it didn't. But yeah, it definitely started off a lot stronger than it ended. There was a lot of stuff in there that was a bit bullshitty that I didn't really like in the last episode. And it didn't really tie up very well at all for me. I won't go any further into it until Adam, you've seen it. Basically, it's good. It's well worth watching, but it starts off. Each episode kind of slowly devolves down into nonsense.
Right. I mean, in fairness, weirdly enough, I mean, the original story. I mean, if people want to complain about spoilers, it's been out over 100 years. But there is, even the story. I think that it does. It's kind of a weak ending. It's a good ending in so much as it's the only logical way of concluding it, because nothing else on earth could stop them, and it works from that point of view. But actually, just as a dramatic conclusion, it's like, oh, we woke up one day and there was fuck all happening. They were all dead. So,
woke. That was a friend of the show, Chris Jones, keeps referring to it as woke of the world. Because yeah, there was a bit in it where it's suddenly a little bit
controversial.
Have we brought this on ourselves? We are the British. This is the time of the colonies. We go over and invade other countries, and our people are doing it to us. Is it our fault? Well, no, it doesn't work like that. But it's nice of you to point it out. Fucking idiots. But no,
I think possibly was he just referring to the fact it's set in Woking?
Yeah, no, it's got a very weren't the Victorians idiots kind of look at what buffoons people were and how terrible they used to be, and although obviously that is true to some degree about a lot of things that were going on politically and stuff. It had a lot of really heavy-handed messages.
Oh, they're sort of hammering it home a bit. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think subtext is great when it remains subtext.
Yeah.
When you start bashing people over the head with it, it ceases to be subtext. I think it's just text at that point.
And especially if you can't be bothered to work it into the story and let's just have like a character just suddenly have this epiphany and just start reading off this dialogue, and then someone comes and slaps them around the face and tells them to, grow up and be more British.
Wouldn't you say, though, that the further in time you go back, arguably the worse humans are, because the closer we get to being animals?
I think. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Are we at the best point that humanity has ever been at?
We probably, unfortunately, yes. So that's, which just proves that there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a bit of a blip.
I mean, it's come on somewhat from medieval feudalism, I suppose, and but,
which one would you rather be born in?
Oh, fuck me today! It's a lot fucking easier,
See, and I agree. It's getting to the point now where, people get offended about such ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's where it could be going a bit too far. Yeah.
And I think it totally you have people and they just people are suing people left, right, and centre over this and that and tiny. And it's like, you do know 100 years ago, if you just walk down the street, there's a good chance someone's going to throw a shit out of the window. And you're going to be hit with it. You just have to deal with it.
Right.
That's
life.
So
we might be going off on a slight tangent, but I wonder about that. The suing culture, because isn't that kind of drummed up by solicitors?
Well, the legal profession,
the law industry,
keen on it, yeah,
and so there's a lot of marketing around it, and so I feel like we're kind of fed it. And when things happen to you, and you suddenly get phone calls, and it's like, well, you want to be the only idiot not suing? Everyone else is making loads of money,
Now I agree, but just in general, it's the same with so the place I work. Last year we had some trouble with our heating, as we have done at every place I've ever worked for any long period of time. Yeah. Like you do at home sometimes.
Yeah, heating tends to go wrong. It is kind of old technology,
and people around the office will immediately go, this should be human rights. We shouldn't have to work in these conditions.
Yeah,
we shouldn't. And it's do you know what? There's people outside digging holes in the road in 3 inches of ice, and like you say, and 100 years ago there were people out who were just in
a little bit worse than that. Yeah,
6 people were in the coal mine, and now people are of this massively mollycoddled. Well, we've run out of tea, and nobody seems to have gone and bought more tea bags. I don't think we should work under these conditions. It's completely unacceptable.
The best way to respond to them is just say, well, as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So fuck off and get the milk.
Get some tea.
Yeah. Get your own fucking tea, Christ.
Yeah. So we have gone off on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake, man up, people. We haven't had a war in this country or anything for a long time. Not like a hand-to-hand war. We've been so mollycoddled.
How do you work out?
I don't think
line
a
is
war's
though,
really
because
answer.
if they spilt loads of water and you slipped over, would you be slightly annoyed at that point?
Huh?
Well, what does it take to actually make you think, right, I'm going to sue now? What is your line?
I think in certain situations,
yeah,
I think
but it is a little bit difficult to know what the absolute correct one is. I think. Anyway, I haven't sued anyone.
No,
and I don't complain about being cold.
I think the point is, we just a little mollycoddled now to the point where we forget, as we were saying, but 200 years ago, you know, our life
had a lot less. Yeah, I mean, we think we deserve a lot more. We always think we deserve as good as the king gets.
Entitlement is a problem, but also there is the whole point when people say about communism is the whole point was we would all live like kings, not we're going to drag everyone down to be like peasants.
Yeah.
But equally, I think that this is one of the few times where random violence is quite interesting, in so much as you should be able to hire a man who will just turn up and just pop people with a shovel. But people where they're sort of doing the thing of, I expected to have, it's like similarly we have a thing at work where at the start of every month they put on a free lunch. Every fucker moans. It's like, it wasn't all that, and it was like it was fucking free. You got a full stomach. Shut up and be grateful. And it's, I think, and again, this is the thing where you should be able to hire a shadowy man who just sort of doesn't have to get too bad, but suddenly runs up to them and stuffs fish down their trousers or something like that. And it's like, there you go. That's what could fucking happen out of the blue.
That sounds like the Tango advert.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they need. A fat orange man who slaps them.
I think that is something we should bring back. As you say, nothing too violent. Not like a full drag someone down and kick them after death. But if someone is a prick, there should be you should all have a voucher once a month, and you can put that voucher in.
Have you been planning this?
Yeah, like a Joker's card. Play your Joker's card. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think genuinely, I think that's the thing, is people just need to be uncomfortable, but in the right way, in the sort of sense of, I went out today, and there was just a man dressed as a cactus at the bus stop, smoking endless cigarettes. People need that sort of shit. That's what they need, rather, just to let them know. Yeah, that could happen, you fucker. Be grateful it doesn't happen every day.
We've got way off topic now.
Yeah.
Right, so let's try and bring us back a little bit. So last night,
and I'm back.
Doing it. Look at him. Look, it's just right up in my face.
I'm just having a look at you. Oh, dirty.
That felt very invasive.
Oh, I can see your pants.
I'm not wearing any.
I know. I thought you were wearing mink knickers.
Right. So last night, I went to Wembley Arena to kick off the festive season with the 25th anniversary of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It was performed on stage with a full orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they had some big screens up and they showed the film. They had a full orchestra. Danny Elfman was there doing the singing songs of Jack Skellington. Catherine O'Hara was there, and she did the voice of Sally and Shock. So, full disclosure, I very much like Nightmare Before Christmas. It probably makes it into my viewing 70% of years. Don't watch it every year. Don't watch it multiple times. Do quite like it. But friend of the show who we've mentioned previously, Manny. Hello, Manny. We will have you on as soon as get back to the recording in one place thing. He really wanted to go, and his missus was in no way interested. So I got one of those, those phone calls that go, tickets are out. I need to get them in 10 minutes. Do you want to come to this thing? And I said yes. Because although I'm a pretty big fan, I was like, it's a night out with mate. We'll probably go and get dinner, a few beers, and it'll be fun. It was exceptional. I was totally blown away. As I mentioned earlier, like I saw War of the Worlds at the O2 and stuff. So seeing a show like a film with a full orchestra is incredible. But to see it with Danny Elfman and Catherine O'Hara and Ken Page did voice of Oogie Boogie as well. We've lost Adam. I can hear you. I can't see you, Adam. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't realise, Greg Proops did a load of the voice stuff on that. I had no idea. Yeah, so they had so whenever you see like the crowd scenes and there's like all the vampires and all the witches and all the rest of it, they had 5 people up who had done all the original voices for those, and Greg Proops was one of them. And you'll be glad to know, Adam, he was wearing a fez.
Good man.
So, but yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, totally enjoyed the crap out of that, and I felt vaguely festive, which is something I haven't felt in probably a decade. So well done, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman and Catherine O'Hara. I love
Greg Proops.
And Greg Proops. Fantastic. Yeah, everyone involved. It was amazing. It was really good. And well done, Manny, for convincing me to go, because it's one of these things I'd probably have seen it and gone, that looks like it's probably fun. Can't be bothered to arrange to get people to go.
Yeah. So what does that tell you? How many things must you have missed that would have changed your life?
Do you know what I haven't missed? I bought tickets today for Faith No More next year in June.
Oh, blimey, you're one of the lucky ones then, because they sold out in about 8 minutes.
Yeah. I was there at 10 o'clock this morning with 2 computers running, going click, 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 and one of them managed to find me 2 standing tickets. So,
nice.
8 minutes. Fucking hell, that's impressive. Yeah, and that's everything I've been watching. So
that wins.
Yeah.
So to the main event. Gremlins.
We should play the theme tune.
Da 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 da
Go.
da 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 da. That's when it goes off into the sort of musical Broadway bit.
So it's all come back to me yet again.
Yes.
So obviously, Adam, you've seen it before. Chris, you said you saw it when it first came out as well, or
it was either the year it came out. It might have been a couple of years after, but yeah, it's definitely when I was fairly young. Yeah, and it was definitely one of my favourite films, even though I didn't watch it that many times. I think it's so iconic, and there's so many memorable bits, and just the blend of comedy with some scary bits, but not, they're not that scary, even when you're young, although I still hesitate to show it to my children, as you said, Adam. And I'd love to see when you're going to play any of these films to Ted, what age he gets to, where it's like, let's try that now.
I mean, to be honest, one thing I have been, one other thing, I've been listening to Visitations, the interview podcast of Elijah Wood, where him and the guy from the production company go and speak to directors. And the one thing that's come clear is if you want your child to be a horror director, show them films at an appropriate age.
Yeah.
Because they were all like, oh yeah, no, I was watching. Yeah, they showed me Alien when I was 7, and
I suppose it can either go that way or the other way, where they become,
a murderer,
mentally ill. Yeah. One or the other,
But
I would like to point out, I can't remember if I did it on the show or if it was a conversation that happened in our chat group. But anybody listening who is British and around our sort of age, if you don't know what Joe Dante looks like, it's Tony Slattery. Slightly longer hair. So yeah, you can have that.
It really is, to be honest. Obviously, weirdly enough, I mean, only a couple of episodes ago we did The Burbs, which was another Joe Dante film. You look like a unicorn, Lee.
Corey Feldman again.
Yeah,
Dick Miller again.
Oh, wait! You're nicking all my outstanding bits.
See, Lee.
Oh, sorry.
What I'm slightly disturbed by is the amount of Corey that Lee seems to have insisted on being on the show lately. It's been thick with Corey, hasn't it?
Well, if you're going to do a video podcast, you need more Corey.
You need plenty of Corey, yeah.
No, yeah, all right. So let me run through my favourite bits of the film. So I liked, these are the bits that I remember standing out when I was younger, and I still think they're pretty good now. So Stripe having that bit more intelligence and willing to go off on his own and find new things, I thought was a great contrast between the rest, which are kind of a crowd and they sort of all follow each other mostly, and they're just kind of a rabble. Whereas he, just that idea that, they're kind of all bad, they're all, but they're not exactly evil. Whereas he has just got that extra element. It's like, okay, that's quite an interesting idea.
Yes, Stripe's kind of malevolent, whereas the rest are more sort of mischievous, I suppose.
Yeah, or maniacal.
Yeah.
Whereas he's got something deeper. So I thought that was great, and the fact that they gave him a stripe, and in fact that makes me, everything in this I thought was just well placed. It worked really well. Like the characters are great, and the cast, and just the fact that the dad, he's a great character. He's just trying to market his inventions, which are obviously terrible. And just every opportunity he gets, he's trying to sell them to people, and just so the thread's running throughout. Even though they're not trying to make anything really deep in it, I thought all of it just kind of worked. A couple of other scenes. The Snow White scene, they're watching Snow White and they love it. It's just like it's ridiculous, and
It's after work we go.
Gizmo driving the car at the end, the fact that you see him earlier on and he's enjoying watching car racing, it's a bit random, but it works.
Claire did point out that him driving the car was more convincing than Billy driving his Volkswagen in an earlier scene where he was just doing driving point. Acting. That's how you do it.
The music and main theme, that's excellent. I love the sound effects of the Mogwai and the Gremlins, so I'm hoping you're going to tell me more about that.
Oh, definitely.
Put Corey Feldman being in it, and is this his first film? Because I didn't remember him being in this at all, and he does look pretty young.
I think it's near enough his first film.
Okay, the first one I thought was Goonies, so I probably saw Goonies first.
Well, Goonies...
But I thought he was older in that, isn't he?
No,
later,
I'm not sure.
But it's written by Columbus.
Yeah, both Gremlins and Goonies are both written by Chris Columbus, who later went on went on to discover America and indulge in the genocide of the South American Indians.
Adam, you're sounding a bit woke now.
Yeah, but been woking. That's why.
Yeah. But and my top scene. Let's see if you agree. The Christmas Carol at, I've forgotten her name, Mrs. Deagle's house, and then the stair lift where she goes flying off. Just because I think they did a great job of her. She's just a classic, horrible, you really dislike her.
Yeah.
And just the way it was filmed, it was just great. I remember just thinking that was so funny. And I normally don't really laugh at people dying, but,
Oh, she was asking for it, though.
Yeah.
It's curious because usually, especially the sort of film it is, you'd kind of expect she's going to be like Scrooge, where it's like,
she'll learn.
They learn their lesson and everything. Yeah. It's like, no, she's an arsehole and she gets what's coming to her.
Yeah.
Her cats are her cats are all named after various types of money. I can't remember off the top of my head what they are, but she's named after various foreign currencies.
Just keep calling one of them dollar bill.
Yeah, I think there's like dollar and there's another one. Anyway, yeah.
I must have missed that. I was getting too excited about going up the stair lift.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Claire found that absolutely hilarious, especially where it was the just the chair with the legs up. When the police drive by. Yeah. Now I don't want to sort of ascribe things here or anything else like that, but I would just point out that Claire's mum has a stair lift. So I don't know if that was sort of doubly amusing for her on that scale.
To be honest, I'm hoping that's how I die. So
it's a way to
hope
go.
Gremlins come true, and
But, yeah, I mean, it's slightly more, it's slightly less ignominious than the science teacher. You know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, see, I remember that being quite an extreme moment, really. Again, it's funny because in my mind, from remembering it, I remember him just getting dragged under there and eaten. But it is funny when I watched it this time, and I was like, well, he's just got a syringe in his butt, so it didn't necessarily kill him. It might have just given him something to put him to sleep. So again, it's trying to keep that family friendly.
He is dead. He is dead. But
his face is totally not.
But it's not. Yeah.
To a kid. Yeah.
See, the thing is that I think also you've got Joe Dante. Basically, Chris Columbus's script was quite. It was a lot more violent and a lot more sort of aggressive. And then Joe Dante, and particularly executive producer Steven Spielberg, decided to make it a lot more.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, he's the executive producer on it, and they kind of were very instrumental in making it. I mean, I'm sort of halfway to saying family friendly.
Yeah.
Because I still maintain it's like a kids' film that you can't really show kids.
No, but that's why I'm so interested to know what age is kind of would be considered appropriate now. Because I can't remember what age I was, but I don't remember it being kind of on the banned list. Whereas RoboCop and Predator, they were like, you're not seeing them. Yeah,
but then I think when Gremlins came out, I think it was a 15.
Oh, okay.
I think. But the weird thing is that in America it created the PG-13 rating. This and Temple of Doom.
Actually created it.
Yeah, because they were kind of like,
we can't quite figure out where this
it's
goes.
Kind of a kids' film, but maybe not.
So is that because horror before was less? I imagined horror was less comedic.
I think it's much more. I think it is actually much more to do with it's because horror was always, in many ways, horror used to pride itself on getting a higher certificate. The only thing that stopped it recently is because studios are quite obsessed with, we can't go for an R rating because you cut out a large demographic of people who are going to go and see it. But yeah, like the last week we were talking about like with Quatermass. When Hammer did the Quatermass experiment, they dropped the E from experiment, so it was experiment in a sort of way of, look at that, it's an X film. That's how you know it's going to be quality. You know it's going to be much in the same way as when you're a kid in a video shop and it's like, it's an 18, so it's going to be good.
Yeah.
There's actually, it's always going to rate better than a 15 to a 14-year-old, which is just
you assume
brilliant.
There's got to be more.
Yeah, it's got to be 18. It's probably got guns and real knockers in it and everything. It's just But so
funny how once you reach a certain age, you don't even. Like, if somebody said to me, what rating is Nightmare on Elm Street, I couldn't tell you. Like, massive films, it would never occur to me to have any idea what rating they are. So, I think to a younger audience, I think it's quite a big thing. I think, but once you are an adult, unless you're looking out for a child...
I don't think it's sort of... I mean, I tend to see it as a barometer, basically, of is this going to be a shit horror film or not? In so much as it's like, it's 15, so it's like, right, so that's going to be a fairly mainstream horror film. I probably won't be that into it. Whereas if it comes through and it's an 18, it's like, I bet they make someone eat their own pubes in this, so I'm going to watch it. But yeah, in the original script, Chris.
I think that's why it's funny, because something like A Dark Song, which we covered previously, that I absolutely, we all did, we loved the shit out. See, now that could totally be a 15, because I don't think there's anything graphic in that film, but it's incredibly menacing.
Yeah. See, the weird thing is the rating system seems to work on the boat. I mean, you could see sort of like stuff that is far more psychologically troubling than Nightmare on Elm Street. But Nightmare on Elm Street has knives and blood.
Yeah, but see, Nightmare on Elm Street, for me, when I learned of it, first learned it when I was younger, it had something extra because it was like, oh, somehow that could happen because it happens in your sleep. And for that just really added a whole nother level. Like, obviously someone with knives could attack you, but that just feels a bit more normal unless it's done in a certain way. Whereas, that just seemed like, it's magical, so it's definitely not real, but somehow in dreams, and I don't know, so that had a slightly
I think it's
elevated.
Probably Nightmare on Elm Street is probably a bad example, but I mean, I think, there's sort of like something like your more common slasher movie, like Halloween or Friday the 13th or something like that, where it's essentially some mad sod with a Black and Decker is terrorising people in the home counties. And it's, but that doesn't necessarily have, but you can watch stuff that can linger with you that's a PG. And it just, all you need is like a disturbing idea. I mean, something like Body Snatchers is far more troubling. Like if you watch when you watch Body Snatchers, especially if you're really little and you watch Body Snatchers, it's very
the idea that people could be taken over.
Yeah, basically, it's like suddenly people
anyone
the people know.
Yeah,
which is far more troubling than sort of a guy with a knife might come in.
Yeah,
but
because he's a baddie, but if suddenly the people you trust are the baddies.
But Body Snatchers kind of, because it doesn't have doesn't have any overt gore or violence. I think that the only one that really, curiously enough, I think The Exorcist was sort of banned in the UK for so long because they said it was much more the psychology of it than anything else, because there's not really, again, there's people turning their heads and, vomiting and stuff like that. But it's much more of the whole build-up of the film.
I mean, you could have people's heads spinning 360 degrees and vomiting crazy shit in a comedy, as Repossessed proved. The makeup and everything, and the things that she does. Obviously, the language and stuff is slightly toned down. But effectively, so much of the visual of it is so similar. Yeah, and yet Repossessed is possibly 12 or 15.
I think it's 12. I think it's 12. Yeah.
But yeah, like visually, there isn't an awful lot different. It's just that building of a massive atmosphere and creating that tension and fear.
It is the context of it, definitely. But I mean, certainly with the original script of Gremlins, for example, the guy, that was something that Steven Spielberg intervened on, was the science teacher was meant to be dead with his face studded with syringes. And so he changed that to one up the bum.
Yeah.
And also, like, they were going to, originally the mum gets beheaded. In the confrontation in the house, they killed the dog. There was, I jotted some of them down. Oh yeah, and there was going to be a bit where they attacked McDonald's and ate the customers, like left the food and ate the customers.
That could have been funny, but
they
do seem to make it. They would have made it more serious.
Also, originally there was no Stripe. It was just Gizmo was going to turn with the rest of them and be the Stripe character. But again, like Steven Spielberg, because he's a sentimental old bugger, was like, no, he's the cute hero who the kids identify.
Well, there's a reason, he makes films that go big.
Yeah, exactly. But he was like, no, but apparently, again, basically, this was, obviously it's a Christmas film. And it was meant to be released at Christmas. And then it's Warner Brothers, and they heard about Temple of Doom was coming out, which I think's Paramount, and Columbia were releasing Ghostbusters, so they rushed Gremlins into production to get
Make sure they were ahead.
So they had their summer blockbuster along with those other two films, and actually Gremlins comes out on the very same day as Ghostbusters, which is really strange because also Gremlins was a bootleg VHS in my house, brought home by my dad on exactly the same day that he brought home the bootleg pirated copy of Ghostbusters. So he had both of them at the same time.
So the question is, which one did you watch first?
Ghostbusters.
That was a scary bit at the start.
Yeah.
No hesitation there.
Oh yeah, no, we watched Ghostbusters. That's what happened. But yeah, and so there was. So they sort of rushed into production, and so a lot of the script changes and things were actually taking place while they were filming. And one thing in particular was that Steven Spielberg kept changing the design of Gizmo. So he was like, originally Gizmo was like entirely furry, and then he said, oh no, he should have white bits and brown bits, and the ears should be naked and so on and so forth like that. And basically, as far as the effects guys were concerned, they were building Gizmo to be in the first part of the film, and then he gets turned into a gremlin. And so they just were doing their fucking pieces because they've had to redesign this thing and rebuild this little creature so many times. And then they've said to him, oh, by the way, we now want it driving a car, and we want it to pull blinds down and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, for fuck's sake, and that is why, and specifically, that is why the Gremlins torture Gizmo. The rest of the Gremlins that was basically Joe Dante's present to the effects crew of saying, yeah, it's all right, we will throw darts at him and like have him tormented because I know that he's just been such a source of problems for you guys, and I apologise for that.
But that's one of those things though. It worked. So arguably now, looking back, that was a good decision to change it.
No, I think because even Billy was meant to do the blinds at the end, not Gizmo. And again, Steven Spielberg said, no, Gizmo's the hero of the film, not Billy. And so also I have to say, I mean, I love Jerry Goldsmith, who did the music on this, who also did the Burbs, and on the Burbs episode we spoke about the other stuff he'd done. But I do have to say, way to rip off Star Wars with your Gizmo theme. Gizmo's little song, that it's very like Luke looking at two suns, isn't it? And sort of, or bits with like Han and Princess Leia. Kind of. Yeah, it's very sort of So that I felt was a bit. I think you've ripped that off, haven't you, dear? So the Gremlins did end up being the fourth biggest grossing film of 1984, though. So they did something right.
So if it's not 84, I definitely didn't watch it when it came out. Then.
No, I didn't think. Actually,
going to say, Adam, when did you see it for the first time? Because I know we were saying about when it was, like when is it safe to show it to? And
it would have been 84, so I would have been so I'd have been 6.
Yeah, same as And I saw it when it first came out. And my parents were very like that. They vetted everything before they showed me. But they had no qualms about showing me this just outright, unedited, because it's such a kind of ludicrous, but obviously amazing story.
But I mean, I wonder though if it's one of those things as well where maybe you look at it now and things have changed a lot. I mean, we've spoken about this on the show definitely before about how particularly kids' TV has altered dramatically. I mean, there's stuff that's in like if you watch like I say, I've been watching Shadows. And there's stuff in that you definitely wouldn't put in a kid's show now. You wouldn't be allowed to. Doctor Who, definitely, because you've had they had people stabbing people and things like that. And I think that's one of the things that I do think with this is, weirdly enough, like the mum, one in a blender, one in the microwave, Yeah. And when she stabs it, that's a proper, like, you know, really...
goes at it, and you can hear the thud as well as the knife goes.
And I wonder, because again, it's stuff that they now refer to as like imitable violence, i.e., a kid could get a knife imitate that, whereas, you know, they try and keep things a lot more fantastical now. But yeah, it would be sort of like, oh, why did you stick your brother's hand in a blender? Well, I saw it happen in Gremlins. Like, but I think that's more the kid you've got to watch than fucking whether Gremlins shouldn't have been shown. But this was something that me and Claire were talking about, though. How fucking highly strung is the mum? Is it? Do you think it's just the dad's inventions have driven her like?
She probably does have to put up quite a lot.
You know, because I mean, he's
not just say, "What the are you doing?"
Yeah, but it's like you hear a noise upstairs. Nice.
Yeah.
And she exudes a bit of a Sarah Palmer sort of feel to her, where she's like, you feel a fuck sight more dangerous than the Gremlins to me. When she's sort of scowling and walking up the stairs, it's like, well, bloody hope the Gremlins turn up and relieve the tension here, because this is just terrifying. But again,
it's funny you saying about Gizmo originally wasn't meant to be in the film all the way through to the end. It's funny because this film looks amazing, and like I totally don't think anything in it hasn't held up enough to make it unwatchable for anyone. I wouldn't
definitely. I still maintain that everything in this is pretty much, you know, you could show this to someone today, and it's like, yeah.
But it's funny how less so a Gizmo actually kind of has got that, like he looks a lot more stop motion, and then once it gets to the Gremlins, like they're so fast and they're so animated and they're so aggressive, like they just, like I say, you can imagine they built this thing and went, look, it's only giving me a few scenes, it's fine. But yeah, the Gremlins themselves, like that first scene when you see Stripe coming out after he's been in the swimming pool, and you see him walking out into the street in the snow, and all of a sudden there's just a horde of them, and they all. It looks incredible. Like, I had to make a note. I was like, it just looks menacing.
I wonder if is it easier to do longer shots and when they're moving a lot than the sort of close-up expressions? Because I actually thought Gizmo's expressions were still quite good. I kind of thought, it's going to look awful, and it's like, okay, that should.
But then apparently they had to build like about a dozen different faces for Gizmo. So they would be sort of locked expressions and stuff like that.
Right.
And I still think they do an amazing job with it. I think the effects team is like proper. You know,
it was like better than I thought, definitely.
And that bit you were saying about, that's definitely stop motion, where they're like the coming down the street, and that does look so incredible. But it's like the old Harryhausen sort of thing, you know, where it just still looks pretty amazing and so sort of lifelike. But I think also that's, interestingly enough, that's why there's the bright light rule. That's why it's written into the script. Is because they said
you got to keep them in the dark.
Keep them in the dark so you can cover a multitude of sins. Don't have anything fully lit, and you can so you don't see the gears, you don't see the stitching and stuff like that.
So that's creative thinking.
It's brilliant. It's a brilliant sort of thing where you're coming up with these rules, and then you're like, well, if we do
actually
that,
works.
I mean, there obviously a lot of it gets. That's the other reason because this is Claire's first time of watching it, and she really enjoyed it. She one thing she did say is once the Gremlins come into it, she said basically every scene could have like Ratso Rizzo in it, because it essentially becomes a Muppets movie, because it's that same sort of thing of just fucking mental, just hilarious sort of stuff. But also the reason I want to show Gremlins 2, because Gremlins 2 is very, because that's not 1990. It's weird because it's that thing from the 80s where they would have a successful film, but it did take them a while to produce the next one. It's not like nowadays where it's very sort of like you'll have it out within like a year to 18 months of a success. And once they are a success, look at like sort of Marvel and everything, where they're like, we've got these 6 films coming out this year, and they'll all sort of like link along or whatever like that. But yeah, but Gremlins 2 is very postmodern and sort of really examines Gremlins as a film in itself, and not just the fact that at one point someone's reviewing Gremlins, like Siskel and Ebert or whatever it is. It's Leonard Maltin, I think, who is reviewing Gremlins on the Clamp channel, like the TV channel, and stuff like that. But also, they do mention the thing which was. When you say don't feed them after midnight, I mean, what if they're in a plane going through an international time zone? What happens then? And it's true.
Till when? There's no midnight till 5 a.m. It's just
They don't tell
them
you
again.
Yeah, they don't tell you the cut-off point, the danger point at all. But it's I mean, for me, my favourite bit of the film is the bar. The bit where they're in the bar. Is because I think when I watched it the very first time when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, that's terrible, they've gone and done all that, and look, and there's like all these people are getting hurt and everything else like that. And then I think the second time I watched it, it was like, fuck the humans, I'm on the Gremlin side. Because they were just having a great time. The carolers, that makes me laugh so fucking hard at such a stupid thing of Gremlins in hats and scarves, and it's just so sort of like bloody absurd. But when they're in the bar, that's my favourite, especially the Tom Waits Gremlin, who's sitting at the side in the fedora, and then the puppets come in, and he just looks at the camera like, and they just have such a sort of. I think it's the puppetry thing, but it's like they have such a good personality to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because apparently that was
about each other is the bit that always makes me laugh. See, like 4 or 5 of them. One of them will kill one of the others, and they all
just for fun. That's it. It's anything that's fun. They're just hedonistic.
And I think that's just.
It doesn't matter if he dies because we've only got to get him wet. We replace him again.
Although apparently someone did point out they do spend a lot of time in snow. You tend to get wet in snow, don't you? So there should be maybe there should be more. But I think like the idea that Kate kind of has the best way of dealing with them, which is just get them shit faced. Let them play and then they won't notice really. And they're fine. Just let them get on with it.
That was my one question. Yeah, when she just kept pouring them all beer, and I was like, why are you giving them alcohol? Like, they're obnoxious, dangerous fuckers.
Lee, why do we give you alcohol?
But I was going to say, you've got to remember, she works in a pub. She's used to giving obnoxious people drink. She has to stop Mr. Futterman from driving home, and she has to avoid saying you're daft racist when he's out there moaning about. But that actually, I mean, obviously you've got like we said, Dick Miller. I didn't realise though when I was looking into this, because there's obviously like so many sort of cool people in the cast, but I didn't realise that where is it? Sheila Futterman, his wife.
Yeah,
she's the original Audrey from the Corman Little Shop of Horrors.
Really?
Yeah, she's Audrey in that. And so yeah, a reunion with Dick Miller, but also now you know why she's got the, you know that's why Joe Dante has hired her to be in this. She's also Tackleberry's mother-in-law in 2 of the Police Academy films.
I have not seen any of those films.
Yeah, did you never?
No, I don't know how.
I mean, well avoided. I mean, that's a bullet worth dodging, mate. So, but yeah, I was sort of like, I mean, I was looking into. That was another thing as well. When I was listening to the soundtrack today, and it didn't really come out doesn't really come out in the film, or it certainly didn't when I was watching it. But there's loads of cat noises in the soundtrack, which again, I think sort of it's the same sort of thing of like you've got sharp teeth maniacs running amok, and there's lots of sort of like sort of noises all over the soundtrack, and I wondered if it was like, if that was part of it, I don't know.
Check out the soundtrack actually, because I do love the music in this. It's really good, really good.
It's a genuinely good soundtrack, definitely. But for example, so the dad, Hoyt Axton, is actually a folk singer. Folk singer, songwriter, and guitarist who did like 25 country albums, and so he was kind of like, acting was his sideline, and you could kind of hear it in his voice when you think about how he is like, that's a smooth voice. But his songs he mostly did songs that were hits, like when they were covered by other artists. So The Pusher and Snowblind Friend by Steppenwolf is him. Joy to the World, Never Been to Spain by Three Dog Night, and No No Song by Ringo Starr. They're all originally him. And I'm going to have to insist that we add this maybe at the end of the podcast, because he did, not this particular one, but he did a McDonald's commercial where he climbs up a mountain of a Big Mac singing The Ballad of the Big Mac, which is pretty awful as it sounds. But I did find a radio advert for Bush Beer that he did, and it's just worth. I think we should just place gently at the end of this. It sounds so amazing in his voice when it's nothing satisfies quite like the smooth, refreshing taste of Bush, and tickled me, but he also wrote
Google and not end up on Pornhub, but I'm going to try.
You're all right. It's Bush Beer. It's Busch. It's just pronounced Bush. So I'll send you the link, because I'm sitting in work. I'd listened to a few of his songs, and it was like, the Bush Beer commercial. I'll have a listen to that, and then I'm just sniggering like a child. So he also wrote the theme tune to a sitcom called Flo, which starred Polly Holliday, who was Mrs. Deagle. So there's a weird connection there. She basically, Flo is a spin-off from another TV show called Alice, and that's kind of what she's best known for in America, as she was this sassy Texan waitress in this program called Alice, and then got her own spin-off show. And Hoyt Axton did the music, but she was also the mother-in-law in Home Improvement, and she was in Mrs. Doubtfire as well. So yeah, these are
Doubtfire also again
directed by Chris Columbus.
Exactly.
I have to say, when I was looking at things that Chris Columbus has been involved with, I don't think I like Chris Columbus much.
What else?
Well, he wrote The Goonies. He wrote Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
So I like both. Oh, were you being sarcastic?
Oh no! I don't like Goonies. No. I'll be honest. No.
Don't Goonies.
But he also then directed Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Don't like them.
I liked Home Alone.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
I didn't see any after that.
Mrs. Doubtfire. No.
Yeah.
Bicentennial Man. No. Harry
Potter. I never saw that.
I
quite liked. What's his name? Tony? No, not Tony Robbins. What was his name?
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. That's it. I'm thinking of the self-help guy, aren't I?
Yeah. I liked him in Mork and Mindy and Aladdin. That was about it. But yeah, he did two of the Harry Potter films as well, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. But again,
have you not seen?
No, Sorcerer's Stone's the American title. I think that's where I got that from. Sorry,
Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone.
I've seen that one. I've not seen the others.
Yeah,
but Lee liked them.
Again, yeah, but Lee's favourite character in all of the Harry Potter world is Newt Commander. So. Let's not prod that sleeping giant, shall we?
You did miss out while mentioning Chris Columbus, actually. He also did Adventures in Babysitting.
That was the one I was going to say I like.
Yeah.
I do like Adventures in Babysitting. Yeah.
And it's...
Whose parents invented the shoe.
Amazing.
Yes. Elizabeth Shue's dad invented the shoe. Up until that point, people just put leaves on their feet. And ironically, shoe pastries. But again, they'd spelt it all wrong. These are all. They spelt it choics. But these are all genuine facts. And yeah, I will say no to anyone who says that is not true. But yeah, so that's the only one I really like is Adventures in Babysitting. The rest of them can, well, dissolve. Kingston Falls is the same backlot that they filmed Back to the Future on. Mm-hmm. So so the town in Back to the Future, what is that, Twin Pines or something like that?
Yes,
yeah. Yes, it is, yeah. And yeah, so that's the same. It's the same universal backlot, much the same as like with the Burbs, where that had been used on so many things. This has been, which is probably why there is that thing of there's a lot of small town America in the 80s, and it's like, yeah, one fucking set. They've just been redressing it, but and on the Kingston Falls Cinema, they're showing A Boy's Life and Watch the Skies, and they're both the working titles of E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Mm. Which they basically said, yeah, we put that in because we knew Steven Spielberg would be watching the dailies, and we just thought, oh, that'd probably keep us in with him. So, the dog, because this is a podcast where we talk about the dogs and their other roles a lot, because we were so disappointed.
He's a good actor, that dog. I've made notes of that.
Yeah. His real name is Mushroom, which is a lovely name for a dog.
Oh.
And he also played Gypsy, Lance Henriksen's dog, in Pumpkinhead.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
We're a very dog-centric podcast. I mean, we've obviously had the revelations about the Silence of the Lambs Burbs crossover, and obviously our greatest love of all being the Husky Wolf cross from The Thing, who is one of the finest, like, Uncanny Valley actors doing the rounds. Well, he's probably dead now, actually. But
I was impressed with that when I showed her The Thing last week for the first time.
Well, she was just saying how good the dog is. He's great. He is great.
But there is something about Mushroom, like, again, like, it's just the way it reacts to. Like, it's a dog. It knows that it's looking at a thing that isn't real, but it reacts so well to it.
Apparently, though, that's what they did a lot of the time. Is when Gizmo first came out, it was the animated sort of head, and that was the first time the dog saw it, and the dog was just like, oof, just like, don't like this. It's a rat or something. I don't like it. And so so he was he was ready to be quite a scary.
The make me laugh out loud is when Gizmo comes round in the car and just nudges the side of the dog's foot, and the dog literally falls 4 feet off the ground. Fucking hell!
Yeah, that dog is a proper stunt dog at that point, definitely. But yeah. Oh, and Mr. Wing, the grandfather, the Chinese man. Yeah, we were quite lucky there because they had a couple of other people in line for that role. One of whom was a Japanese actor called Meiko, and the other was John fucking Pertwee. Presumably John Pertwee in yellowface. So we've really dodged a bullet there that we can actually still watch this film because it doesn't feature John fucking Pertwee dressed up as a Chinese man. So. Sorry?
Yeah, that would have made it a whole new level of awkward for a lot of people.
Exactly. So, and not only that, but also it's like, it's 1984. We know you've got Chinese actors. Get a Chinese man to play the Chinese man. How's that for a theory? But the guy they got to play Mr. Wing is a guy called Key Luke. And obviously he's back for Gremlins 2, very briefly. But he was the first Chinese-American actor contracted by RKO, Universal, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. He's the voice of he's the voice of Han in Enter the Dragon, like the main villain. He's Lee Chan, number one son.
He's the voice of Han. I didn't know that was a voiceover job.
Yeah, no, he's dubbed. Yeah, he's just but he also was the original Kato before Bruce Lee was doing it in like film serials of the Green Hornet. He's the original voice of Brack in Space Ghost, which just swelled my heart with pride. I know it's not Brack as he is now. I know that it's Brack as an evil villain, not Brack as the simpleton who, with his own cartoon series on Adult Swim that I love. But it still was like, he's the voice of Brack. I love Brack. Yeah, make your fan your cleans. But yeah, he played the number one son of Charlie Chan in like loads of the Charlie Chan films in the sort of 30s and stuff, and ended up being the voice of Charlie Chan in an animated series, and was actually the first Asian actor to play Charlie Chan. And that was like the 70s, and you're like, for crying out loud! I mean, come on. But then, like I say, it's 1984, and they're seriously going, "Oh, John Pertwee could probably do it." Yeah, what we need is a lanky British man with a lisp. You know, he'll pull off, you know, Chinese salesman like that. He'll be brilliant. Yeah.
You know, that's not that bad. I mean, consider the Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2. They were way later, and that was a man brown face. Let's not forget that still going on in Hollywood at the time.
Oh yeah. Oh no, but it's just, I mean, that's the thing, is it's just one of those ones where you go, oh, thank Christ for that. We can still watch Gremlins. Rather than sort of like, you know, having to show it to people with a caveat and an apology before we start. It's like, here you go. This is this really great film. But, you know, please be advised. Also, what the fuck is going on with Judge Reinhold? Because he turns up, he's a dick, and that goes nowhere.
No, but he did that in a lot of stuff. Like, I'm pretty convinced before, like, Beverly Hills Cop, he always played a bit of a knob, as I remember him. Why? Because he's not, like, he doesn't look like, you know what I mean? Like, people will get typecast as, well, he looks like a villain, he looks... Reinhold never looked like a bellend, but people always cast him as these obnoxious shits.
Yeah. Right. Although I was very pleased to see that he has played the character, the Honorable Judge Reinhold, twice. In Arrested Development and Clarks, the animated series. So that's good to know. But he also seems to be the king of very oddly long-running film series, because obviously he's in Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2 and 3. Which is respectively 84, 87 and 94. So you didn't realise quite how long they were going on for. And he's also
back-to-back in a weekend about 3 months ago.
Nice. But he's also a character called Neil Miller in the Santa Claus 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But so Santa Claus is 94, 2002 and 2006. Who the fuck? Who was planning these? I mean, it makes, like, Gremlins 2 look quite recent. Like, you know, that's a fairly sort of consistent franchise. When it's like 94, 2002. Oh, we better get this done. It's nearly 8 years since the last one. Sorry, you were saying who is he in the Santa Claus then?
Yeah, sorry. So he plays the. So basically, it's Tim Allen is the father. Mother has a new boyfriend, and Tim Allen is a bit of a wacky dreamer. And
really thought you were going to say prick then.
And Judge Reinhold is a psychologist who is the new boyfriend. So when the kid discovers that Tim Allen has become the Santa Claus because he killed the real Santa Claus, Judge Reinhold is like trying to say to him, you shouldn't be filling this kid's head with these delusions and blah blah. But but like
so he's playing a bit of a dick again.
Yeah.
It's
I've only seen the first two. I didn't even realise it was the third one, and the second one affected me.
Did remind me,
but Judge Reinhold did
of the serious bit in Gremlins where the girl Phoebe Cates, is talking about people committing suicide at Christmas, and then it also turns out that her dad died coming down the chimney as Santa. which is funny and awful.
Yeah, and apparently that was something that the studio executives were really keen to cut out.
Yeah,
and it was one of the few things where Steven Spielberg was like, well, it's Joe, because Steven Spielberg didn't like it, but he said, well, it's Joe Dante's film, and if he wants to keep it in, let him keep it in.
I was trying to work out if it adds something or takes something away, but it is something. I
think it's just a nice.
I didn't remember it at all.
No, because it's. I think it's just
massively jarring, and it doesn't benefit the film in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but I think it's. I think it's one of those things where it's like you get the sort of impression that this used to be a lot darker. It's like a hangover from that, and I think maybe that's why Joe Dante wanted to keep it in, because it was kind of like, well, we've cut out a lot of the more violent aspects.
Yeah,
and again, that story, no one gets stabbed. There's no, she hasn't got her knockers hanging out, and no one says fuck in the middle of it. So they don't care how disturbing that would be in terms of like showing it to children, even though that is a massively traumatic, horrible story.
Yeah,
but again,
but that's the thing. Like it is the kind of inconsistency of this film, where it's a kids' film, but it isn't. Yeah. So putting that story in the middle of it is no more inconsistent than.
I suppose I sort of gave it to them as they're doing a bit of character development, so it adds a bit of depth to her character, but it also contrasts with Billy.
Because Billy's all sort of. I thought
he's
everyone
like,
was happy.
Whatever. Yeah, like I've got no idea. Any of that. So I guess it could have been left in for some of that reason as well.
Well, I think obviously we have to do a bit of leg rubbing, Vic Reeves style leg rubbing appreciation of Phoebe Cates. But I didn't realise she retired from acting. She's married to Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
And basically her last. No, where was it? Because she came out of retirement to appear in something. Where was it? Her last film role was in 2001 for something called The Anniversary Party, and then before that, her last role was 1994.
So she had like 12 years or something of doing loads of shit.
Yeah.
And just like 30 years old or whatever, just walked away and left it all behind.
Good for her.
Yeah.
But she's like in Fast Times at Ridgemont High with Judge Reinhold. She was in the film Shag, which used to just tickle me because it was it's about a dance, but again it has a different sort of meaning over here. So when the trailer was on a video and it just kept going on about Shag, it was just hilarious. That was.
So it's a type of dance.
It's a type of dance, apparently. It was. I think it was in the same sort of mould as things like Footloose and stuff like that, where it was like just dance crazes. And there was apparently the Shag in the 50s. But I think that maybe a lot of people went over to America hearing that the Shag was the next big thing and were really disappointed. And obviously, most importantly, she's Snotface in Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
Hello, Snotface. You got all old. But
the thing that I picked up this time, which was really reassuring. So twice now I've watched Ready Player One, and I was convinced. Obviously, that film is littered with 1980s references, and so IROC brings the Orb of Ossivox in a box, and I remember saw it in the cinema on my own, and he shows the box. I immediately went, that's the box that Mogwai comes in from Gremlins.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I was like, I need to check that out at a later date because I'm sure it is. And then I've watched it again once or maybe twice since, and both times I forgot to actually go and check up on it. But this time, watching it today, I then went and opened Ready Player One and found it. Yeah, it is. So when they get the Orb of Ossivox, stop saying that. It does come in the box that the Gremlins are in.
That's really
Go
cool.
neat. Woo!
Mogwai, but incidentally, is Cantonese for demon. So yeah,
that would have given it away if he'd studied his
well,
languages.
maybe they just called it a demon in when it was translated into Cantonese, and everyone was like, "Oh, demon, that's a funny man." And then some Cantonese lads who lived in Scotland formed a band called Demon. Unaware, in that same sort of sense. I did see a lovely thing where apparently Mogwai did say it was kind of like a placeholder, and we just never got a better one. So they were like, "We're not that obsessed with it. We just like the word." But like you were saying, Chris, I had to find out about the people, the Gremlins voices. Now, so for a start, Gizmo is voiced by Howie Mandel, who is an actor, comedian, and TV presenter who's quite famous in America. He was their original presenter of Deal or No Deal. He's a judge on America's Got Talent. He used to own a real prick's soul patch, and he looks not unlike the prick from Stained. But yeah, that's him. But in America, he's just a big name. But he was sort
not
of
particularly into horror.
Well, I think he's just sort of one of those people who sort of, it starts off, they're quite funny, and then they do so, and then it's like, oh, so you're just going to piss that away and just be a shitty TV presenter for the rest of your life, are you? All right, great. Apparently, his big comedy thing was putting a rubber glove over his head and inflating it. So, I mean, he's, he wasn't the new Bill Hicks. But, so, I'm terribly dismissive. It's just because everyone kept going on about it, like a lot of the articles and stuff I was reading, it was like, and the voice of Gizmo is Howie Mandel. And I was like, oh, fuck it, what's it? And it's like, oh.
Just nothing.
Yeah, he's famous, but yeah, not
for no interest.
So I'm using that one first because there's some quality on here. This next one goes out to Pinball Bobby on Not For Everyone.
Woo!
Because loads of people did the voices of the Gremlins. Fred Newman, who was also the voice of Harry in Bigfoot and the Hendersons. So there you go. That goes out to Pinball Bobby due to his love of big feats. Next one, Michael Winslow, who is the guy who does all the noises, Larville Jones in all the Police Academy films and animated TV series, and the radar operator.
Lee wouldn't know about that.
And exactly, but he would know him as the radio operator in Spaceballs. So, where has he gone? Do we know?
Yes, what Lee?
Yeah. Do we know where he's gone?
Lee, come back. Where are you?
I think he's just got. He's probably gone for a dump. I mean, he should have had one before he started.
That'd be the least worst thing he could be doing.
See, the trouble is, while he's away, what he doesn't realise is we're both going to say, "Isn't us fucking great?" So, because it is. Yeah. So, and it's full of deep meanings, and people don't get it, and the people who don't get it are a bit rubbish. That's true. That's a true thing.
See,
and
you're taking a risk now. He could get back any moment.
He'll come back in a minute. Maybe. Oh no, that's probably what it is. He's gone to check his Corey Feldman shrine that he's got. Has little votive candles in front of it.
We must have done all the Corey Feldman horror films now.
I think actually possibly not. I think because again he's a bit like what's his name in this, the guy Zach Galligan who plays Billy, who seems to. I mean, he was in Waxwork and Waxwork 2.
Quick, stop talking about Lee.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
But he wasn't in Waxwork 2.
No. But he's in loads of like more recent horror films. I think it's that same thing of like someone comes and finds, someone gets into like you're into a horror film, you get older, and it's like, oh, the bloke from Gremlins is available, and it's like, yeah, he is. He's also an uncredited murder victim in Hellraiser 3. So that's just one for you. You're right there, sir.
I am.
Yeah, what happened?
I had to go pee.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Well, we were before you left, we were discussing.
Wasn't watching and didn't realise I was gone. I just went and urinated.
Yes. We were discussing people who did the Gremlin voices. Obviously, we've dismissed Howie Mandel out of hand. And then Fred Newman, who's the voice of Harry in Bigfoot and the Hendersons. Michael Winslow, who is the Lavelle Jones in Police Academy, is the one who does all the noises.
Oh,
yeah. And he's the radar operator in Spaceballs.
Who does the blips and the beeps.
Yeah. He's voice of the Gremlins. Right. He gets better. Mark Dodson, who did zombie voices for Day of the Dead, but he's also the voice of Salacious Crumb in Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Getting warmer now, aren't we? Again, you can you know why that guy got that part. You know, doing Gremlin voice. Peter Cullen did voices. He's the voice of Optimus Prime.
Yeah,
Optimus
he totally
fucking Prime in both the animated and the films.
I just recently watched the Netflix documentary about the toys that shaped our.
Oh, the toys that made us. Yeah.
He's
on. Yeah, because he's on there, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's also the voice of Venger from Dungeons and Dragons, the main villain. And it was like, right.
Yeah, of course he is. That's why it's a horrible, terrifying character.
Exactly. And then we come to the guy who is mainly the voice of Stripe, who is Frank Welker.
Oh, wow.
He is Fred in Scooby-Doo and has been the voice of Fred in Scooby-Doo since the very beginning. And he has been the voice of Scooby-Doo since 2002. But he is also Dr. Claw, Brain, and Madcat from Inspector Gadget.
I'll get you, Gadget.
Very good.
He's Megatron, Soundwave, Rumble and Frenzy, and various others in the animated Transformers. And he's Galvatron, Soundwave, and Ravage in the animated series and the live-action films. He's Nibbler in Futurama. Both the Nibbler voice and the sort of, well-spoken posh voice that he has. That's both him. He's the Martians in Mars Attacks. He's Uni and Tiamat in Dungeons and Dragons. He's Ray and Slimer in The Real Ghostbusters. He's Iceman in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. He's Totoro in the English language version of My Neighbor Totoro. And he's the alien voice of Syl in the film Species. Howard Richard I versus Species. Lots of killings.
He's done well.
But
unsung heroes. As soon as you mention this, now that is an unsung hero.
We haven't.
Time, but he totally is.
Yeah, but definitely. I mean, it was incredible. Like going through it, and it's like there is so much fucking voice talent that was essentially thrown at. Hello.
But maybe that's why. Maybe maybe they pulled it off better than
definitely
anyone except for you. I think they could have hired you and they'd have done well.
Well, I would be quite happy to pull it off for them. So obviously Robbie the Robot turns up in the background. The Time Machine turns up in the background. It's the usual story with Joe Dante films of like hundreds of references. Still, Steven Spielberg is a man in an electric wheelchair at the Inventors Convention.
That was
Jerry
quite
funny. Jerry Goldsmith is credited as man in telephone booth glancing at the camera, which I can only assume is like, look, Jerry, go and do that. Don't look at the camera, Jerry. So, but
in background scene, it's what he was quoted as.
Yeah, but I was just. There's another thing that I think comes out well in this movie, which is just the constant thing that we are taught by all films from America, is that small town police are fucking useless.
Yeah.
So.
And everyone's got a fucking huge house. They say, they've all got money troubles, and he just sits in the garage and makes shit. But they've still got a house with like 15 reception rooms in it. It's insane.
Yeah. Mind you, that was something that's kind of hinted at in it, but never actually sort of comes out much. Is apparently Mrs. Deagle is basically repossessing everyone's houses and is selling them on to a chemical company or something like that. So, but that was again something that didn't sort of.
It did.
I don't think it goes anywhere.
She spoke to the mother with the 2 children.
Yes.
When she's taken the head into the bank. Yeah. So it sort of hints at that.
And that's very sort of Wizard of Oz anyway, isn't it? I'll get you and your dog.
Yeah.
So one of the bank customers is Chuck Jones, the legendary Warner Brothers animator. And yeah. And also, this is something that I've never seen the series, so I don't know, but it was just an interesting fact, is the guy who plays Deputy Brent, he's the character Mike Ehrmantraut, who apparently is the only character who's in all 3 things to do with Breaking Bad. He's he's in the main series, he's in Better Call Saul, and the spin-off movie El Camino. He's the only character who's like in all of the things. He's like an ex-cop hitman, basically trouble. And I thought that worth mentioning because probably people who watch Breaking Bad would listen to this and go, "We didn't mention the bloke in that. It's like he's fucking Breaking Bad and all over it and everything." And he's probably the most famous person in this film nowadays.
It's funny. I've seen him he's one of those people again, like you've seen in loads of shit, and you go,
"Yeah,
it's him." I couldn't tell you what he's been in, and I didn't actually IMDb him because I was like, "Oh, it's that bloke." Yeah. He's in loads of this stuff around this era. Between 1980 and 1995, he was in pretty much 80% of Hollywood films, I think, in very small bit parts.
I think, weirdly enough, I mean, there's a lot of people in this have sort of, works with Joe Dante and back and stuff. Sorry, I was examining.
Do you know what? A landmark point that we need to reach is when someone does a mashup of all of Adam's phrases and voices and makes him say something amazing. Bit like Cassette Boy.
Bit Cassette Boy, yeah.
Oh God, I love Cassette Boy. Where is Cassette Boy?
Cassette Boy have just released their Boris Johnson one, which is they've redone Can't Touch This, but as Don't Trust Me.
See, I've not listened to Cassette Boy since The Streets. I just remember The Streets and Big Brother, and literally listening to it until I laughed so hard I was sick in my mouth.
Right, the one that will get you
since then until yesterday when I was listening to Bob Mortimer's Atletico Mints podcast. Yes, and I sent you, Adam, on WhatsApp the sound bite from that literally had the same effect, where I laughed so hard I thought my eyes were going to pop out of my head.
Yes. Oh, blimey. I mean, that's the thing. Vic and Bob's Big Night Out is back on. And again, he keeps, I can't think of his bloody name, but he keeps playing a guy who is a murderer. But he had his wife on there yesterday, which is just Vaughan Earl, the big guy who's working with them at the moment, in a dress with a mask made of a tea towel. And June's there. She's got her cloth on. All right. Yeah. So, but, yeah.
He's fantastic to follow on Instagram because every time he comes to London, he keeps doing videos where he basically pretends, he pretends to be having a conversation with somebody and just talks like a massive wanker. And it's absolutely hilarious.
I've just consulted with my scientific advisor, and she said that it's Bill Decker is the character I'm referring to with Bob on Big Night. So, yeah.
Thank you
my name's Bill
Decker.
And
have a can choo-choo on me for that.
Ah, yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hope my tits aren't too chaotic for you. Yeah.
Better have big middle tits for this one because it's going to be tough. Right. So we better start wrapping up because it's
Christmas.
And
it's Christmas.
And they take 8 hours to upload to YouTube. So thank you, Adam, for the tongue action.
I was just upping your bit rate there. So.
Nice. Yeah, see, that's going to take an extra 15 minutes of uploading. So for the next episode, we were discussing this previously off air. So the next episode is basically going to be 3 years, almost to the day, the release, to when we originally decided we were going to start doing this podcast. So in celebration of that, we've come to a unified agreement that it's time to show Chris the ultimate horror movie of all horror movies, as we haven't managed to make him piss himself yet.
I'm getting excited. Can you tell?
Which is why we've decided to watch Saw 3D.
So what we've said is, as well, because we're doing it in this format and not watching a film together, the other reason for doing this film now is that it's a film that works particularly well watched on your own. So if we do it now, is to possibly, depending on scheduling, the last film that we watch independently before we go back to sitting together and watching a film, we are going to get Chris to watch the original Exorcist. Which he has before, but he did say earlier on that he watched it and Repossessed very close together, and also Scary Movie, and now can't tell The Exorcist from the others. I'm guessing if he now goes back and watches it on its own, he fucking will, because it's horrific and terrible.
Well, it's not that. It was just when he was describing Max von Sydow's breasts expanding whilst using an exercise machine, that I thought maybe you've got the things. You've probably got everything a bit mixed up there, mate.
Yes. So we're going to. Oh, actually, it's funny.
Set me straight.
Huh?
Yeah, you're going to set me straight.
It's funny you mentioned Max von Sydow, because here we go, degrees of separation. Max von Sydow in the last Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian, is currently running. None of us have obviously been able to watch it because you can't legally see it in the UK. But Jennifer does keep referring to Baby Yoda as Mogwai because it is effectively.
Very much. I did see a lovely picture of it because obviously currently like Instagram is just a cesspool of pictures of Baby Yoda in various ways, shapes and forms. And one of them was just him looking up at the sky like that. And it said, when you're too young to realise that those seagulls might come and peck your head.
Right, for anybody who doesn't get that, go and watch the bad lip reading videos, the Star Wars ones. They are some of the funniest. They are one of those things. I've seen both of them probably 20 times, and I laugh massively out loud to the point of nearly puking every time I watch them. Yeah. So, what are they called, Adam?
There's Bushes of Love.
Yes.
And the Yoda one is Seagulls, Stop It Now. So. Stop.
It just starts me off. You wore a Seagull Stop It Now t-shirt once, I think, when we recorded it. And it had the same effect. We were literally halfway through a conversation and I almost choked to death with laughter when I realised what you were wearing.
Oh, yeah, Bushes of Love. I haven't seen that. They've got loads now.
You haven't seen Bushes of Love or Seagulls Stop It Now?
I've seen the Seagulls.
Oh, Bushes of Love is genuinely a brilliant song.
Yeah,
but mental. I've got a
more
picture
as
of
well.
my photo wagon.
Force Awakens, Hostiles on the Hill. It's
Right.
Not a Moon.
Right. So let's stop now. We'll let Chris go and watch this. This is a massive rabbit hole. We'll be up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Bad lip reading, same as we've all done that. And we will see you all in a fortnight's time for the big episode, the super mamma jammer of all horror movies, The Exorcist. We're
What's
going
the
to
theme
do it.
tune? Tubular Bells, isn't it?
It's Jude Lewis by Mike Oldfield from Bleeding Upminster. Bleeding Upminster, mate. Just round the corner, isn't it?
Yeah. That's why Ian Jury did the vocal version.
I'd listen to that. You know?
We all would have.
Isn't that Dean's album?
Yes.
Go and listen to Pit Ponies. It's a bit like Ian Jury
in the Blockheads.
Yeah. And it is good. It's a good album to go and listen to Pit Ponies. Previous guest Dean, we also mentioned him earlier because he's going to send some Shudder requests over to Chris. Maybe, if I remember.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks ever so much for listening and watching. Please comment below. Please send us your hashtag AskWelcomeToHorror. New listeners / watchers, you can ask us any question you like, and we will definitely answer it. Like literally any question you like.
And listen to our brothers on Not For Everyone, who have just done The Prophecy, which I've still not seen, Lee, despite the fact it was one of the first films you ever told me to watch. And Dean, actually. The pair of you were always on about The Prophecy. No.
I've not watched it in 20 years because it's one of those films I thought was fantastic when I was young, but I think might be a pile of shit. But what I'll do, I will listen to Not For Everyone covering it, and then I'm going to decide whether to or not to rewatch it again. So it'll be all good. Excellent. Right. Thanks ever so much. And we will see you all in a fortnight's time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Merry, messy Christmas.